A woman can snap for all sorts of reasons. To protect loved ones.
She knew that it was only a matter of time before he sexually abused their little daughter.
For revenge.
I want you to go now, Kate. I have nowhere to go, ma'am. Where shall I go?
I think a culmination of all the stresses just made her snap.
Joe, really? You could get these yourself.
Or to be free from responsibility.
She had a goal that he was not going to clutter her life any longer.
These deadly women become cold-blooded killers when they reach their breaking point. In 2008, in the charming seaside town of Belfast, Maine. A wealthy young couple seemed to have everything.
And they were pretty inseparable.
James inherited all this money from his father, millions of dollars. It looked like they would have a charmed life.
But James and Amber Cummings are living with secrets. Their 12-year-old marriage is miserable.
He didn't appear to have a lot of relationships with people or with his family. Kept to himself.
Amber is afraid of her husband and has been for years.
He abused her physically, emotionally, sexually. He tore down every shred of her individuality.
This guy's gonna run the country?
And James has some alarming political views.
What is this world coming to?
He's a white supremacist.
How the hell is he supposed to run the country? He's colored. I'm gonna kill him.
And he's using his newfound wealth to pursue a macabre hobby.
James became obsessed with Nazi paraphernalia. He spent a lot of his inheritance seeking out items that Hitler had owned.
His behavior is fueled by a delusional mental illness.
It was clear that he had a serious mental illness known as paranoid schizophrenia.
James lives in a constant state of paranoia.
Where have you been?
I had to get out of the house for a while.
Oh, you think you can leave the house?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to your brother's.
I don't want you going to my brother's house.
He can't tolerate other people in Amber's life.
Here forever.
I don't want you going anywhere. You got that?
What is wrong with you? I can't stay in here forever.
You ought to stay here.
What is wrong with you? You're acting crazy.
He wages a campaign to cut them out.
He isolated her from her family. They moved several times so he could keep her isolated.
James and Amber have a daughter. But he is no kinder to her.
Clara, come here. That's the Fuhrer, Silva. You're not to touch that.
When he tried to beat the daughter, she would step in between them and take the beating herself.
Do you understand? Where do you think you're going?
What's going on, Clara? Honey, just go upstairs. What is going on?
What are you doing?
She's not doing anything wrong. She is just a kid.
Even though that made James angrier and made him hit her worse.
I'm teaching her discipline. This is something you don't understand.
Disgusting.
Clara!
She was subjected to marital rape on a regular basis.
Isolated, abused, and terrified. Amber does try and escape with her daughter.
Amber tried a couple of times to escape from James and always failed. And he got angry and the abuse escalated.
There's no way out for Amber Cummings. James controls her every move.
Come here. Come here.
Now his perversions
Come here. Sit down. Sit down.
grow even more disturbing.
Now I want you to pick me the best one.
Oh my God.
What do you think?
They're children.
That's right. They're great, huh?
He had become obsessed with child pornography.
Come on, you can do it.
I don't want to do this.
He had hundreds of images of child pornography on his computer.
James, it's horrible.
Well, come on.
Mom, I don't want to do spelling book. Honey, I'll be there in a second. Just wait outside for me, okay? Okay.
Well, come on. Pick your best one.
That one. All right.
His authority is unchallenged. His violence unchecked.
He ran his house like Hitler ran Germany.
Amber reaches her breaking point. In a quiet New England town, a rich young couple is hiding secrets. Nazi sympathizer James Cummings is addicted to child pornography.
All right, gorgeous. You are good to go. You want to go downstairs and play?
Please, thank you, Mom.
By December 2008, his battered wife, Amber, is about to snap.
Amber got up with her daughter. Seemed like a normal morning. And then she walked into the bedroom, pulled the .45 from under the pillow.
Domestic violence victims, they very often think about a way out of the situation is to kill themselves.
On the brink of ending her life, Amber realizes if she dies, who will protect her daughter from her monster of a father?
What troubled her the most was his child pornography collection. She knew that it was only a matter of time before he sexually abused their little daughter.
Amber Cummings could never stand up to James to protect herself. Now, her maternal instinct explodes to the surface. There's only one thing for her to do.
She couldn't leave Clara there with him. She walked into James's bedroom.
While her sadistic jailer sleeps, she takes his gun and pulls the trigger.
Everybody has a breaking point. Ultimately, take away all the socialization that we've been subjected to since the moment we came out to the world. We are animals, and animals can attack.
Amber takes her daughter to a neighbor's house and calls police.
Lara, we've got to go. Quickly, come on, let's go outside. Let's go.
Chief of Police Jeffrey Trafton will never forget the scene.
It's hard for us to justify shooting somebody who's asleep in a bed. She looked more like a victim than a shooter.
Expressionless, just like a shell of a person, really.
Amber killed to protect her daughter. But as police discover, she may have done something else.
Look at this stuff.
Change the course of history.
When the FBI came into that house, what did they find? All the ingredients for a dirty bomb, including uranium.
Looks like we have a manual.
They found some of that stuff was radioactive.
In James's twisted, racist view of the world, Barack Obama should never be president.
They were going to drive to Washington, D.C. for President Barack Obama's inauguration, and he was going to explode a dirty bomb down there.
Amber shoots James just 1 month before the presidential inauguration. James Cummings' evil plan could have killed thousands.
Amber killed her husband. She is 100% responsible for his death. But there is no doubt in my mind, not only did Amber save her daughter from a horrible fate, but possibly the United States.
In a civilized society, Amber's vigilante justice can't stand unchallenged. A murder trial must take place, and it touches a nerve.
She had probably upwards of 100 people in this community show up for her sentencing date, most of which were wearing T-shirts that read, "Free Amber."
Pleading guilty, Amber's fate is left to a single judge.
Amber was given an 8-year sentence that was fully suspended, so she walked away from the Waldo County Superior Courthouse a free woman.
There's still a certain segment that don't agree that she should have shot him and killed him. But I do believe that the community as a whole has forgiven her.
Free from her abuser and any jail sentence, Amber makes an extraordinary request.
She did ask the community to forgive her husband. She had said, look, he had some problems, and I don't want the community to hold any anger towards him.
Amber Cummings is a deadly woman. She murdered her husband while he was sleeping. But seeing her story, it's easy for me to understand how Amber was created.
(2010). In the leafy suburbs of London, England, home renovators make a grisly discovery.
The mini digger unearthed a skull. We knew that it was not just a grave site, it was a skull on its own.
A lone human skull can only mean foul play. But to whom does it belong?
They managed to narrow it down to a death between the 17th century and 1880.
To identify this antique victim, police will have to delve into London's dark past and reopen a murder case that scandalized a brutal city. England, 1870s. Kate Webster is celebrating moving to London.
Kate Webster was an Irish woman who came to England and effectively was a career criminal. She was cunning. She learned how to be a criminal from an early age.
Kate hasn't come to London for a job. She's come to steal. But she's not very good at it and is soon caught and jailed for 5 years. On her release, she is determined to have an easier life.
Kate Webster's life couldn't have been much harder than it was. Kate had almost no education. She worked in people's homes as a housekeeper, and she wasn't very good at that.
Kate finds the perfect employer. Naive widow, Julia Thomas.
Good afternoon, Kate.
Good afternoon.
Please, sit.
Thank you, ma'am.
She had a nice house. She would wear jewellery and rings. She was a church-going lady, very prim and proper.
But Mrs. Thomas didn't know about her background.
Do you have some references for me?
Oh, no. I've just come to London. I've come from Ireland, and unfortunately, I don't have any references, but I'm so keen to work. So keen to work for you, Mrs. Thomas.
She didn't like work. I mean, she resented doing the work. She wasn't a very good maid.
It's a very large house, Kate. Have you worked in such a large house before?
I have, back in Ireland. I did notice there was some dust in the mantle. I can see you need some help.
Well, yes. Shall we start straight away?
Let's start.
Kate Webster is a talented con artist and thief, but an atrocious housekeeper.
She was a clumsy lady. She would slam the table, the trays down on the tables. Mrs. Thomas would complain about Kate.
And Kate has a more serious problem. She's an alcoholic and a bad-tempered drunk.
She was a big drinker. She was often annoyed at people.
Julia Thomas decides to make a stand.
She feared Kate Webster. She had built up the courage to sack her.
Where have you been? Oh, you're drunk. I told you I will not tolerate you going to the public house. And with your work not done, then you do go on your bidding.
Oh, leave it be, woman. It'll get done. It'll get done in my own good time.
I will not tolerate this. That is enough.
And then she was asked to leave the house.
That's enough.
What?
You must find other employment.
I'm going.
You certainly are.
You make me.
I will.
She wasn't happy about it. She's been insulted.
Now go to your room now.
May I go to my room? What will I be thinking of, huh? What am I going to be doing? I'm going to be thinking in my own head what to do.
Kate convinces Mrs. Thomas to give her time to find accommodation.
You better watch yourself, missus.
Go.
Then she did allow Kate to spend the weekend in her home before she left. I think this was a big mistake.
Sunday, January 13th, 1879. It's Kate's last day of work.
Where did Kate go? She went to the pub. Mrs. Thomas was not happy again.
Stop there!
She'd done her a favor and let her stay for the weekend. But now Kate's late back from the pub.
I want you to go now, Kate. I've nowhere to go, ma'am. Where shall I go?
Mrs. Thomas is waiting for her, and an argument ensued.
I don't care. I've given you plenty of chances. I gave you notice. Now, I want you out of my house right now.
She threw her down the stairs.
Kate! Kate!
That was a terrible throw, wasn't it?
Help me!
Shush! Be quiet!
To prevent Mrs. Thomas from screaming, she strangled her.
Help me!
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It was a brutal killing of her landlady.
I think a culmination of all the stresses Kate was under finally came together at the top of that landing. Her alcohol problem, her low wages, and her repeated failures at even a simple menial job just made her snap.
Kate Webster has killed her employer. But she doesn't run.
For the first time in her life, now Kate had some power, and she used it.
Kate has come up with a monstrous plan that will shock London society. London, 1879. Drunken housekeeper Kate Webster has murdered her employer. Now she chooses the most gruesome method to get rid of the body.
Kate effectively spends the rest of Sunday and Sunday evening trying to dispose of the body.
It's a horrifying process.
She dismembered the body using a meat saw and a razor.
Lazy servant Kate is now hard at work. She hacks into Mrs. Thomas's neck and saws off her head.
Blood was all over the kitchen itself, in corners of the room. So I think it's fair to say disgusting.
It's a lot easier to get rid of a human body than the way Kate went about it, and a lot less ghoulish to simply bury a body in the basement. There was something in Kate that drove her to do that. I think she liked it.
With Julia Thomas's body in pieces, Kate cooks up an ungodly stew.
She thought she could dissolve the body by boiling it.
Neighbour next door said that she could smell a horrible, rancid smell.
She makes human lard out of the boiling body fat.
The residue that's left in the pot is really some of the fats that have coalesced. You're left with what looks like lard. It is not a far stretch for her to have given this particular mixture to people. cannibals had said that the taste of human tissue was similar to that of a pig.
Kate sells the lard at her local tavern.
Some of the locals in the area, they had reported that in the days after the murder, Kate Webster had presented them with what she described as pig lard.
It's funny because I've got some most excellent flavored pig's lard. It's really delicious. The kitchen.
And they proceeded to eat it.
Delicious.
Kate spreads a story that she's had a stroke of good luck.
Her aunt, Mrs. Thomas, had passed away.
She'd inherited a house.
It's an outrageous lie. But people believe it.
She wore Julia's clothes and she tapped into her bank account. She could be somebody she had always wanted to be, but never could. She became a wealthy old woman.
Kate still has to dispose of the body.
The torso was placed in a wooden box.
Kate dumps it in the Thames. But not all the body parts will fit. She squeezes the head into a handbag.
Most people would not chop someone up and carry the head around in a bag. Kate seems to have gone nuts.
Kate hides the head, where it remains undisturbed for over a century. The other body parts are found much sooner. Just 5 days after the murder.
Kate was really a much sicker woman than anyone really knew.
It is not long before Kate's story of an inheritance unravels. She's quickly arrested and convicted of murder. Although it's rare at the time for a woman to receive a death sentence, Kate Webster is hanged.
You look at what she actually did. How could you not say that's evil?
130 years later, the final piece of the case is solved.
The skull was recovered from an area that had previously been a stable. Kate Webster would have known that well. She frequented the pub.
Julia Thomas can finally be laid to rest.
If that murder hadn't happened on that day, Kate would have eventually had a row with someone and they would have ended up dead. And then possibly in the kitchen.
There is yours. Would you please eat up?
A dying husband needs a devoted wife.
He was generally suffering a miserable existence.
But when there's no love left,
Wendy was hardly the dutiful caregiver to her sick and dying husband.
a marriage becomes a burden.
This is not someone that I ever want to be around if she snaps again.
Summer 2000. Maricopa, Arizona.
Are you doing my toast?
An everyday domestic scene.
There.
Except this family is living in tragic circumstances.
Oh, and some jelly.
Joe was diagnosed with a very serious cancer, and he was terminal.
He was generally suffering a miserable existence.
Wendy,
What?
would you mind getting my pills?
Joe, really? You could get these yourself.
It's hard for me to get out of the chair.
Sure it is.
The dynamics of the family at the time that Joe got sick quickly went sour.
Joe Andriano has only months to live. His 30-year-old wife, Wendy, isn't coping.
Now I have to go to work.
Oh, and my beanie.
Joe! I can't do this for everyone, okay? I can't take care of everyone all the time!
Wendy is a bad nurse,
Have it! Too much, Joe.
and she resents the pressure of being caregiver and the only breadwinner. Wendy often doesn't come home after work. She's leading a double life.
Miss Andriano was noted for going out to bars and clubs. She would engage herself, if you will, with some of the men that she met.
How much have you...
She pretends she's single and available.
It was difficult to understand why she would prefer to carouse with other men when her husband was at home, terminally ill.
Wendy even flaunts her affairs in front of her husband.
I need you to be so quiet because one of my kids is on the couch sleeping.
It's hard to say if she was always crazy, wild, angry. We don't know. What we do know is how she acted when he was dying. Something was seriously wrong here.
Wendy's uncaring attitude is matched by her greed.
She set about to commit fraud and actually asked 2 different men to pretend to be her husband.
Listen, Rick, I need to ask a favor.
What?
I need you to pose as Joe in a medical exam.
And tell the insurance company that he did not have cancer.
So he can get a life insurance policy.
Why?
The fact that she attempted to get this other life insurance was just an indication of how greedy she really was.
I can't do that.
Rick, we need your help. Look, I will give you $10,000.
No, I can't do that.
She was seeking, at least from that, a $1 million life insurance policy.
No, I can't.
She can't get insurance, but Wendy no longer cares. She just wants Joe out of the way.
Wendy could not wait for her husband to die from his cancer.
She had a goal that Joe Andriano was not going to clutter her life any longer.
If Joe's cancer is slow to kill him, Wendy will give death a helping hand. October 8th, 2000, Maricopa, Arizona. Joe Andriano, a cancer sufferer, is in agony.
Joe was very ill. He was just writhing in pain, laying on the ground in pain.
What are you doing? I need help.
I need an ambulance for my husband.
He hears his wife, Wendy, call 911.
Yes, it is. Yes, he has terminal cancer.
But no paramedics arrive because Wendy is just pretending.
Thank you. Please, be quick.
Wendy had a plan for him. She couldn't wait for him to die of natural causes.
Where are the paramedics?
It's all part of Wendy's plan that started hours earlier.
She heated some soup on the stove and replaced the medication with sodium azide and had given him that.
Here's your soup.
Oh, thanks, darling.
It's a toxic weed killer, lethal to humans.
Is it good?
And she set about on a plan to murder her husband as quickly as possible.
Joe is left in agony for almost an hour. Finally, Wendy thinks he is on death's door and contacts a neighbor.
It was really unclear as to why she did that, but the friend did come over.
I just have to quickly tell you, please don't ask any questions. I mean, he's on the floor and they're dying, but he doesn't know I haven't called 911.
What do you mean you haven't called 911?
I just think it would be better if...
You need to call 911. Wendy, you need to call 911. You have to call them. You want me to make the call?
It was the neighbor's view that perhaps 911 should be called immediately.
Joe, it's Chris.
Under pressure, Wendy finally calls emergency.
Hello? My name is Wendy Andriano. Now, I made a call earlier for an ambulance, and we're still waiting.
We called up paramedics 45 minutes ago. They're gonna be here any minute,
Yes,
Joe kept saying, why is it taking 911 so long to get here? He was under the impression that 911 was on their way.
I need help.
But Wendy decides she can't risk paramedics snooping around.
We need to get him into the car. We're gonna take him to the hospital.
Where's the ambulance?
I don't know, Joe. We've called them. I don't know how long it's gonna take. We're gonna get you into the car, okay?
Miss Andriano grabbed Joe from underneath his arms
Joe, get up.
and tried to get him up so that she could put him in the car.
Where is the ambulance?
Joe, get up.
Her plan to poison Joe isn't working.
Joe, get up! We gotta go! Joe, I'm sick of it! Get up! Get up!
By now, he should be dead.
She miscalculated how much poison was necessary to kill him.
We gotta get in the car!
Poisoning wasn't enough. It wasn't fast enough.
At that point, the neighbor said, look, I hear the sirens. I'm gonna go outside to guide them in.
When paramedics arrive, Wendy comes up with a cold-hearted lie.
Ma'am, not coming in. Help. My husband is dying from terminal cancer, okay? His DNR, do not resuscitate. He doesn't want your help.
When you think about this, open the door,
He doesn't
please.
want to die this way, okay?
Come on.
His DNR, no. DNR, no.
She was afraid that he would miraculously be saved.
Can't you guys do something?
The paramedics believe her and leave,
We did everything we can. Sorry.
sealing Joe's fate.
It was very important for her to murder her husband.
I need help!
Now, no one can stop Wendy.
Where are the paramedics? Oh!
She immediately started to hit him in the back of the head.
I need help!
She struck him so hard that there were holes on the top of his head.
She bludgeons him 23 times.
It was brutal because of the fact that Joe did not die quickly.
Joe, who bravely fought cancer, can't fight his wife.
she grabbed one of the kitchen knives that were there, and in the area where the cancer actually started, she stuck that in the side of his neck.
I think it's safe to say that Wendy snapped. This is not someone that I ever want to be around if she snaps again.
30 minutes later, the 911 center received another call from that address.
The same team of paramedics return.
It was right after you left.
What confronted him was a very grotesque scene. An individual who had had his head beat in, who had vomited, and who had had a knife stuck on the side of his neck.
With her husband lying in a pool of blood, Wendy insists she's the victim.
We were fighting. He found out about my affair. He had a knife. He was threatening me.
Wendy's defense was, yes, I killed him, but no, I did not mean to kill him. It was simply self-defense.
I'm sorry, man. He's gone. Thought he was still breathing. He's gone.
No one believes Wendy's story, but no one can understand why she murders either. Her husband would have died within weeks.
This is one of the most baffling cases I've ever looked at. The incredible brutality she exhibited toward her husband as he was dying of cancer, poisoning and then stabbing. No heart, no empathy. I can understand why she's on death row.
December 23rd, 2004. Wendy Andriano is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. She is currently on death row in Perryville Prison, Arizona.
If I could ask Wendy one question, it would be, why? Why didn't you wait?
When these deadly women snapped, they left a trail of death. Amber Cummings shot her brutal husband to protect her daughter. Kate Webster killed and cooked her employer out of anger and greed. And Wendy Andriano bludgeoned her frail and ill husband because he took too long to die. These deadly women were prepared to kill when they reached their breaking point.